My father sued me. His own daughter. He stood up in a courtroom in Columbus, Ohio, and told a judge that I had stolen my sister's future. Just because I bought a house before she did. And 40 minutes later, the judge said 2 words. Just 2 words. And my father's face turned white. I still think about that moment. I think about it when I unlock my front door. I think about it when I water the plants on my porch. Because that house, the one they tried to take from me, is still mine. Let me back up. Let me tell you how it started. My name is Rachel. I'm 31 years old. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I work as a physical therapist at a sports rehab clinic downtown. It's not a glamorous job, but it's mine. I built it from nothing. I grew up in a small house in Dayton, about an hour away. My dad, Gary, worked at a manufacturing plant for almost 30 years. My mom, Diane, stayed home when we were little and later worked part-time at a dental office. And then there's my younger sister, Megan. Megan is 28. She's smart. She's funny. Growing up, everyone loved her. Teachers loved her. Neighbors loved her. My grandmother used to say Megan had main character energy, and she said it like it was a compliment. I never resented that. I want you to understand that. I loved my sister. But there was always a difference. A quiet difference. The kind you don't notice until you're older and you finally have the words for it. When I got a B on a test, my parents said, "Good job, Rachel." When Megan got a B, my mom would say, "Are you okay, honey? Is something going on at school?" When I worked 2 jobs through college to pay my own tuition, my dad said, "That's very responsible of you." When Megan asked my parents for help with her rent, they just paid it. No questions. No lecture about responsibility. I'm not telling you this to complain. I'm telling you this because it matters for what happened later. I paid my way through physical therapy school. I graduated with debt, real debt, almost $60,000. And for 6 years, I lived small. I drove a used Honda with almost 150,000 miles on it. I packed my lunch every single day. I didn't take vacations. My coworkers went to Cancun and Nashville, and I stayed home and picked up extra shifts. I did this because I had a goal. I wanted a house. Not a huge house. Not a mansion. Just a small brick house with a yard. A place that was mine. A place nobody could take from me. And in March of last year, after 6 years of saving, I did it. I bought a house. It was a 3-bedroom brick house on a quiet street called Linden Court, in a neighborhood called Clintonville, on the north side of Columbus. It had an old maple tree in the front yard. The kitchen had these outdated yellow tiles that I actually loved. It cost $289,000, and I put down almost $60,000 of my own money. Money I saved. Money nobody gave me. I remember standing in the empty living room on closing day just crying. Happy crying. I called my mom first. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking. "I did it. I bought a house." There was a pause. A long pause. And then she said, "Oh. Wow. Okay." Not, "I'm proud of you." Not, "Congratulations, sweetheart." Just, "Oh. Wow. Okay." I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself she was just surprised. I wanted so badly to believe that. I was wrong. 2 weeks after I closed on the house, my dad called me. "We need to talk," he said. "As a family." I thought maybe they wanted to see the house. I thought maybe this was good news. I invited them over for dinner that Sunday. I made lasagna. I put out the good napkins, the cloth ones my grandmother gave me. I was so excited to show them my home. They walked in. My mom looked around at the walls I had painted myself, a soft sage green. My dad looked at the kitchen, the yellow tiles, the little garden window over the sink. And then Megan walked in last. She didn't say hello. She didn't hug me. She just stood in my doorway. and she looked at me like I had done something wrong. We sat down at the table. Nobody touched the lasagna. My dad cleared his throat. "Rachel," he said. "We need to talk about the house." "Okay," I said slowly. "What about it?" "It's not fair to your sister," he said. I remember laughing. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking. "Megan has been trying to save for a house too," my dad said. "And now you go and buy one first. Do you know how that makes her feel? Do you know how that looks?" "Dad," I said. "I saved for 6 years. I worked overtime. I didn't go on vacations. This isn't a race." "It is a race," Megan said quietly. Her arms were crossed. "And you knew that. You knew I was trying to save up. And you rushed to buy a house just to." "What?" "Beat me to it." I sat there with my mouth open. I genuinely could not find words. "Megan," I said, "I have been saving for this house since I was 25 years old. This has nothing to do with you. Everything is always about you," she said. Her voice cracked. "You always have to be first. First to graduate. First to get a real job. Now first to buy a house. Did you ever think about how that makes me look to Mom and Dad?" "How you look?" I said. "Megan, I'm not trying to make you look like anything. I'm trying to build a life." My dad slammed his hand on the table. Not hard, but enough that the water glasses shook. "That's enough," he said. "Rachel, your mother and I think. We think it would be the right thing for you to give Megan half the equity in this house." I stared at him. "What?" "Half," he repeated. "You have $60,000 in that house. Give Megan 30. It would even things out." "Even things out," I repeated, like the words tasted strange in my mouth. "Dad, this is my house. I bought it. With my money. My name is the only name on the deed." "You had help," my mom said suddenly. Her voice was soft, but her words hit like a slap. "Don't forget, honey, we let you live at home for 2 years after college so you could save." "I paid you rent," I said. $300 a month. You have the Venmo records." "That's not the point," my dad said. "Then what is the point?" I asked, and my voice was shaking now, not from anger, but from disbelief. "The point," Megan said, standing up from the table, "is that you always get everything you want, and I'm sick of it." She walked out of my house. She didn't even finish her water. My mom followed her. My dad stayed for 1 more minute. "Think about your sister's feelings," he said. "Family is supposed to share." And then he left too. I sat alone at my dining table, in my own house, the lasagna going cold, and I cried until my chest hurt. I want to be honest with you. Part of me thought that dinner was just a bad night. A moment of jealousy that would pass. Family fights happen. I told myself it would blow over. It did not blow over. Over the next 2 months, things got worse. My mom stopped answering half my texts. My dad liked other people's posts on Facebook, but never mine. Megan posted a photo online, a picture of a vision board with houses cut out of magazines, and the caption said, "Some people get handed everything. I'm still working for mine," face with rolling eyes. I knew it was about me. Everyone who knew our family knew it was about me. I tried calling my mom to talk it through, woman to woman. "Mom," I said, "can we please just talk about this like adults?" "I don't want to be in the middle of this, Rachel," she said. "You and your sister need to work it out." "There's nothing to work out," I said. "I bought a house with my own savings." "That's not a crime." "It's not about a crime," my mom said. "It's about how it makes people feel." I hung up the phone that night and I felt something inside me shift. Some quiet part of me finally understood. My family did not see me as someone to protect. They saw me as someone who was supposed to shrink herself so Megan could feel bigger. And I refused. That refusal, that quiet, calm refusal, is what started the war. In July, for months after I bought the house, I got a letter in the mail. It wasn't a letter from a family member. It was a legal letter. From a lawyer. My hands were actually shaking when I opened it. I remember standing in my kitchen, still in my scrubs from work, holding this envelope like it might explode. Inside was a formal notice. My father, Gary Whitfield, was filing a civil claim against me. Against me. His daughter. The claim said that I had received an unfair financial advantage using family resources and that I owed my sister Megan an equitable share of the property because, and I am not exaggerating this part, because our parents had informally loaned me money over the years that had allegedly gone toward my house savings, and that this created a financial imbalance between me and my sister that needed to be legally corrected. I read it 3 times. I still couldn't understand it. My dad was suing me for buying a house before my sister did. I called him immediately. My voice was shaking so hard I could barely speak. "Dad," I said. "What is this? What is going on?" "You wouldn't do the right thing on your own," he said. His voice was calm, almost cold. "So now a judge will have to decide." "Dad, there's no loan. You never loaned me money for this house. I saved every dollar myself. You lived at home for 2 years, Rachel. Free rent. Free food. That has value." "I paid rent," I said, my voice cracking. "I have bank records." "We'll let the judge sort it out," he said. And then he hung up on me. I stood in my kitchen, in the house I had worked 6 years for, and I sobbed so hard I had to sit down on the floor. My own father was suing me. For a house. Because I had the audacity to succeed before my sister did. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I had to hire a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Cole, and she was recommended by a coworker who had gone through a messy divorce. Patricia was calm, sharp, and completely unbothered by the emotional side of things, which, honestly, is exactly what I needed because I had no calm left in me. "Rachel," she told me during our first meeting, "I need you to understand something. This lawsuit has almost no legal basis. Your father cannot force you to give away equity in a home you legally purchased, unless there's a documented loan agreement, a lien, or some kind of enforceable contract." "There isn't one," I said. "There was never a loan. Just rent. Regular rent that I paid." "Then we're going to be fine," she said. "But I won't lie to you. This is going to be painful. Because this isn't really a legal fight. It's a family fight wearing a legal costume." She was right. I started collecting every bank statement, every Venmo payment, every text message where my parents thanked me for my rent money. I found an old text from my mom, from 3 years earlier, that said, "Thanks for rent, sweetie. See you at dinner." I printed it out. My hands shook the whole time. I also had to deal with my family in person because Thanksgiving was coming, and somehow, even in the middle of a lawsuit, my mom expected me to show up. "You're still coming for Thanksgiving, right?" she texted me in November. I stared at that message for a long time. "Mom," I wrote back, "Dad is suing me. In court. Do you really think I'm coming to Thanksgiving?" She didn't respond for 2 days. Then she wrote, "This is exactly the kind of drama that's tearing this family apart, Rachel." Me. I was the drama. Not the lawsuit. Me. That was the moment something in me went quiet. Not angry quiet. Just done quiet. I spent that Thanksgiving alone in my house on Linden Court. I made a small turkey breast, just for one. I sat at my table, the same table where my family had accused me of stealing from my sister, and I ate dinner by myself. And I cried. But it wasn't only sad crying. Some of it was relief. Because for the first time in months, nobody was yelling at me. Nobody was making me feel guilty for something I earned. I texted one friend that night, my coworker Jenna. I told her everything. She wrote back, "Rachel, I am so sorry. But I need you to hear this. You didn't do anything wrong. You worked for that house. Don't let them make you feel small for succeeding." I saved that message. I read it a lot, over the next few months. By January, the case was moving forward. My dad had hired a lawyer too, some family friend who apparently did this as a favor. Megan wasn't officially part of the lawsuit, not as a plaintiff, but she was in the courtroom for every hearing. Sitting right next to my dad. arms crossed, eyes down. I lost sleep. I lost weight. I started having chest pains that turned out to be anxiety, not my heart, but the doctor still made me get an EKG just to be safe. I remember lying on that exam table thinking, this is what fighting my own family for my house is doing to my body. I didn't tell anyone at work what was happening. I just kept showing up. Kept helping my patients with their knee exercises and their shoulder stretches, smiling through it, and then going home to cry in my car before I even walked inside. I want to be honest. There was a night in February where I sat on my kitchen floor, the same floor where I first cried tears of joy when I closed on this house, and I thought about giving up. I thought about just paying Megan something. Anything. Just to make it stop. Just to have peace again. But then I thought about every double shift. Every ramen dinner in grad school. Every vacation I skipped. Every dollar I didn't spend so I could put it toward this house. And I thought, if I give this up now, I'm not just losing money. I'm losing myself. So I didn't give up. I called Patricia the next morning and said one sentence. Let's go to trial. The hearing was set for late April, over a year after I bought the house. It was held in a small civil courtroom downtown, the kind with old wooden benches and fluorescent lights that hummed a little too loud. I wore a plain navy dress. My hands were ice cold the entire morning. I remember gripping a folder of documents so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My dad sat across the aisle. He wouldn't look at me. Megan sat beside him, and my mom sat one row back, twisting a tissue in her hands. My father's lawyer stood up first. He told the judge that I had unfairly benefited from years of family financial support, including free housing during college, occasional gifts, and this part actually made me flinch, emotional and logistical support that allegedly gave me an advantage over my sister in saving for a home. He said the word unfair so many times I lost count. Then it was our turn. Patricia stood up, calm as ever, and laid it all out. She showed the judge my bank statements going back 6 years. She showed the rent payments, every single one, with dates and amounts. She showed my mother's own text message thanking me for rent. She showed my mortgage documents, my name, and only my name on the deed, my down payment wire transfer straight from my personal savings account. Your Honor, she said, there is no loan agreement. There is no lien. There is no legal claim to this property held by anyone other than my client. What we have here is a family disagreement about fairness. But fairness is not a legal standard. Ownership is. My dad's lawyer tried to argue that informal family understandings should still carry weight. He talked about how close families share resources and how Megan had reasonably relied on the idea that she'd get support too, someday, for her own house. The judge, a woman named Judge Ellen Marsh, sat quietly through all of it. She had sharp eyes and a very still face. I couldn't tell what she was thinking, and it terrified me. Finally, she asked my father directly. Mr. Whitfield, she said, is there a written loan agreement between you and your daughter Rachel regarding the purchase of this house? No, my dad said quietly. But we're a family. We don't need paperwork to know what's right. The judge looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at me. Then she looked back down at the papers in front of her. The bank statements, the rent receipts, the deed with my name on it. The room was completely silent. I could hear the air conditioning humming. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. And then Judge Marsh looked up, straight at my father, and she said 2 words. Case dismissed. That's it. 2 words. But the way she said it. Calm, final, absolute. It landed like a thunderclap. My dad's face went white. I watched the color drain right out of it. Megan looked down at her lap. My mom put her hand over her mouth. Judge Marsh wasn't finished, though. She added one more sentence, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. This court does not exist to redistribute the rewards of hard work based on hurt feelings. I felt my whole body go weak with relief. I actually had to grip the edge of the table to stay upright. Patricia squeezed my hand under the table. It was over. My house was mine. Fully. Legally. Completely mine. I wish I could tell you that my family apologized right there in the courtroom. That my dad hugged me and said he was sorry. That Megan finally understood. That's not what happened. My dad walked out of that courtroom without saying a single word to me. My mom followed him, crying, but not toward me, toward him. Megan lingered for a second, like she wanted to say something, and then she just left too. I stood alone in the hallway of that courthouse, in my navy dress, holding a folder full of my own bank statements, and I felt the strangest mix of emotions. Relief. Grief. Freedom. Sadness. Because winning didn't undo the year of pain. It didn't undo the Thanksgiving I spent alone. It didn't undo my dad calling his own daughter unfair in front of a judge. But it did give me something back that I didn't even realize I had lost. My sense of self. It's been almost 8 months since that day in court. I still live in my house on Linden Court. The maple tree out front turned this beautiful gold color last fall, and I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee and just watched it. Nobody can take that porch from me. Nobody can take that maple tree. My relationship with my family is different now. Quiet, mostly. My mom texts me small things sometimes, a recipe, a photo of the dog. We haven't talked about the lawsuit directly. I don't think we ever will. My dad and I have spoken maybe 3 times since that day, short, careful conversations, nothing like what we used to have. Megan and I aren't close anymore. I think, in her heart, she still believes I did something wrong by succeeding before her. I've made peace with the fact that I can't change that belief. I can only choose not to shrink myself for it anymore. I went to therapy for a while. My therapist said something that stuck with me. She said, some families don't celebrate you. They compete with you. And the healthiest thing you can do is stop waiting for their applause. I think about that a lot. I still work at the same clinic. I still help people rebuild their strength after injuries, and there's something almost poetic about that, isn't there? I spend my days helping people get their strength back while quietly rebuilding my own. Last month, I repainted my kitchen. I kept the yellow tiles, but I changed the walls to a warm cream color. It feels like mine now in a way it didn't before the lawsuit. Like I earned it twice. Once with my savings. And once with my strength. If you're going through something like this, if your own family has made you feel guilty for your success, I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to build a life your family didn't approve first. You are allowed to succeed before your siblings do. You are allowed to protect what you worked hard for, even if the people asking you to give it away share your last name. Love, real love, does not ask you to shrink. It does not ask you to hand over your future to keep the peace. Family is supposed to be the people who cheer for you, not the people who sue you. I paid for my house with 6 years of sacrifice. And I will not apologize for that. Not to my father. Not to my sister. Not to anyone. So let me ask you something, because I've thought about this so many times since that day in court. If your own parents stood up in a courtroom and asked a judge to take away something you built with your own 2 hands, what would you have done in my place? Would you have fought like I did? Or would you have given in, just to keep the peace? I'd really love to know. Tell me in the comments below. And if this story meant something to you, if you've ever had to choose between family and yourself, stay close. Because I have more stories like this one to share with you. Take care of yourself. And remember, you are allowed to keep what you've earned.